Hi, this is Dave. I'm back at Mission Peak and thought I'd do a quick introspection of my first solo flight back since my trip to Europe. It was an interesting day. Probably shouldn't have even gone. It was about 104 degrees. I hiked all the way up, which took a while and was pretty hot. Not my favorite hike that I've done, but it was good. The ranger actually came to check on me to make sure that I had enough water. I was the only one on the trail. So anyway, as I'm hiking up, well, first of all, when I first left the parking lot, I'd seen somebody hiking out with a paraglider pack on, and he'd just done a sled ride down. There was nothing there. It took him 10 minutes, but he thought it may get better later on, so I decided to go up. I knew it would take me a while to get up, probably about an hour and a half to 2 hours. So I was hoping that by the time I got up, that conditions would be a little bit better. And on the way up, the whole way up, I was starting to see more signals that it could get good. I saw a bunch of birds circling. I saw some dust devils kicking off in the path. There were some indicators that it could be a good thermic day, although the top of lift was not going to be very high, so I didn't expect to be able to get high. So anyway, here I am. Once I got to the top, I took a break for a while and then took off. And after seeing some birds right in front of launch, I decided to just see what I could find to the left and right after I took off. Usually I would have gone to the right to the next little ridge and spent some time there in the ridge lift until I found something good and thermic. And probably that would have been a good idea on this day. But because I saw indications right out in front, I thought it could be okay. What I found once I was out there is that while there was lift, it just wasn't staying together. It was very unorganized and just really difficult to get more than a couple turns in it. And either it was topping out or just getting blown apart by the wind. So what you're seeing here is me kind of sustaining in some areas, but not really being able to find any cores. So I'm going back and forth in front of launch, just trying to find a plan for the day. Again, I think in retrospect, I should have gone to my normal ridge to the right or to the north, which is the direction I'm facing right now in the video, and just gone to that cliff face and spent some time there until I figured out what was going on. But I haven't really lost much altitude now. And this is also a spot that I don't usually spend a lot of time. I'm pretty sure at this point I saw some bird heading towards me from the other side, just kind of on a flat flight, not going up or down. And so I was thinking that there wasn't much lift past the gully that I would have usually gone, and there was lift in front of the launch. So there's the bird. You can kind of see him at the top. So I decided to follow him, see if he finds anything, and see if I hit any lift on the way. So now I'm heading over the paths. Sometimes the paths kick up some thermals. And so I'm just going to kind of follow the path terrain, see what I see what I feel, maybe head down spines. Just trying to feel out some of the lift. The bird that I saw had headed more to the left of my view right now, kind of deep into that gully over where I'm looking now. And it's not a place that I really like to tuck on a kind of a strange day until I really know what the wind's doing and the thermals are doing. It just feels very committing back there. So I decided not to follow the bird into there yet. So I'm still passing around, just trying to find some spot that may kick off some lift. I'm definitely losing altitude, but not quickly. I've got it's lifty enough that I can spend a lot of time searching different areas. So I'm just traversing the terrain and seeing if I can find a spot that looks like it'll work. So it felt like there was something coming maybe off the tree line or kicking off from the sides of the tree lines. So I made this turn, tried to follow it down, but just wasn't there. My first turn was away from the terrain just to make some space, and now I'm trying to do a 360 through the lift that I just found. So it's very slight, probably gained a meter or two, but there's definitely something there. I think this is where I probably should have spent a little bit more time here trying to find it. I just don't remember feeling super secure there. But I did get some altitude there, enough to push maybe to the next potential. This is another opportunity where I could have kept pushing north, the direction I'm going now, just to see what's over by that other spine, but it just felt like there was more behind me than in front of me, but could be a mistake. So I'm now making another low pass in front of the launch area, just trying to keep as much height as I can. I can always brake to the right if I need altitude, if I need to get away from the ground. The landing is pretty much directly in front of me and to the right a little bit. I don't think I've ever scratched this close to the hills at Mission Peak before, especially on a thermic day. So now I'm heading back to the paths. Usually my plan at this point, if I haven't really found much over by the launch or the cliff to the north of launch, is to push over these paths and I'm really low there, and then try to get to the other side of the gully ahead of the view now, because usually that pays off a little bit better. So that's where I'm heading to, but as I cross the gully, I see some birds climbing over to the left, a little bit deeper in. And while I didn't want to get directly over to where they were because it was pretty deep in there, the lift that I'm feeling now gave me an idea that maybe I can connect into what they were in. But nothing on this day seemed to last for long, so I'm not sure if I fell out of it or it just fell apart, but I think I made a few turns here and that was all I could get out of it. But enough to give me some height to get to the next piece of the gully. So I think I'm a little bit on the upwind side of what could have been a better thermal, and if I'd pushed downwind a little bit more to get in the core of it where the birds were, I probably could have climbed to be a safer distance from terrain, but it just didn't feel great to push into there. So I'm taking the lighter lift on I guess the lighter edge of the thermal. So I've gained a little bit of altitude here. It definitely paid off, but I probably didn't make the most of it. Here I'm just trying to maybe recenter and try to find a better piece of it. Also, with that extra altitude I just gained, it lets me commit a little bit more to getting back towards the bigger terrain. Now it feels like I've lost whatever was there, or it's just dissipated. So if I don't find anything now, my next plan is usually to cross this next gully with the trees on my left, get to the other side of it. I'm going on speed bar now to get a little bit faster. Now I'm coming off it because I'm in lift. But if I can get to the other side of this gully, sometimes those hills straight ahead of me now pay off. So I try to get here as high as I can so I can be over some of these, the crest of some of these hills, and then to see what I can find. So there's some lift on this hill, but I can't really turn to my left, so I'm turning to the right, which pretty much pulls me out of it. So I'm just trying to do some figure eights until I have clearance to make a full turn. But it's not really, I don't know, it doesn't feel like it's doing much for me. So this one feels like it's there, and I probably should have just turned in it and made a full 360 and then taken the climb up to get clear of the hill. Maybe one thing for this day would be to have just downshifted mentally and not looked for strong climbs. Just tried to make more of the weak climbs that I had. I was probably a little optimistic before I took off because I saw what I thought were indications of stronger thermals. So my mind was set for what would be a stronger day. And then when I didn't find that, I just kept looking for the stronger lift that I thought would be out there. So I think being able to downshift quickly when you realize that it's not that kind of day is important. All right, so that spot didn't pay off, so now I'm trying to intersect with the next little spine, see if there's anything on this one. And this one has a nice long sloping dry area, so my hope was that it would have something kicking off, kind of coming up this crest. All right, so the nice thing about this hill is that it does sometimes pay off, but if not, you can glide all the way down it to the landing. As long as you can stay above it, you pretty much have a glide to the landing. But we'll see that I didn't do that. So I'm just following the crest of the spine, hoping to be a little bit on the sun side of it, and just not finding anything. And now I'm dropping to the point where I start thinking, am I going to clear the spine? So right now I'm just a couple meters above the ground. And if I can find something, I'm okay, but if not, I'm starting to think that I may not make it to the landing. And we really don't like to land outside the landing at this site. So landing on these fields will be safe, but it's not permitted by the park. So now I have what feels like a little bit of a boost, even to the point where I remember thinking I maybe ought to climb this one back up. It just felt like it's in the place where I've found low saves before, and with space to turn. So I'm going to start turning into it, and I just fell out of the back of it and came out really low, and so low that I thought I was going to definitely land. So here I am making the turn, and now you're going to see I'm going to kind of take a dive down, and my feet are coming out because I'm expecting that I may have to land. So now I'm feeling like, whoa, that was a mistake. Now I feel good again, so I put my feet back in, and you'll see in a moment that now that it starts to feel like I'm not going to make it. So I bring my feet out again, and now I feel like I'm going to have to put it down on this hill. So I'm going to come out of my harness. I'm ready to land. But as I clear the crest, I come over this crest, and I feel some lift coming from the trees. And I can still brake to the left if I need to land. But at this point, I realize that I am going to make it to the landing. So the feet go back in, and now I'm on a glide that's going to just take me straight to land. Sometimes you can get lift even here, and you can get a save right off this path, but it didn't happen today. So now my feet are coming out for the third time, but this time it's because I'm intending to land. And the wind is coming from the left of the screen. So I'm going to come through these trees and then turn into the wind for the landing. It's a little bit lower than I like to come in because there's no really room to set up a good landing, but everything works out great. Make a quick turn, and this is right in the spot that I like to land. A little bit of a scrape on the heels, but I landed in a squat and put the wing down. So thanks for watching, and as usual, I'm not an expert, so if you see anything in here that you liked or didn't like, or some advice, please put it in the comments, and love to hear the insights. Thanks everyone for watching.